Hey Penny, it's so nice to have you on the show today. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thank you so much for the invite. Very excited to be here.
Beautiful, and thank you so very much for being here. You see, I truly appreciate it. And you see, Penny, oftentimes I love to thank my guests for two things, and I do this so often to the point where it has become an anthem for me. So, firstly, I want to say thank you so very much, Penny, for investing in yourself. You see, you are on this platform right now because you did invested in yourself. And oftentimes, Penny, I love to make reference to the amazing mango tree. You see, some couple of months back, I was on a particular road, and just by the roadside, Penny, there was this very tall, unattractive mango tree. And I use the word unattractive because the mango tree's got no mangoes on it, and the leaves were all dry. So I just walked past it and I went my way. But you see, Penny, just recently, I was on that same road. And this time around, a lot's changed about the mango tree. The mango tree caught my attention pretty good from a distance. Immediately, I got the urge to move so close to it, of which I did, and it wowed me. Because now the mango tree's got a lot of mangoes on it, beautiful green leaves and healthy branches, and not just mangoes now, Penny. I'm talking about ripe mangoes. It was such a lovely moment that day. I was so excited. Here is my point. The fact that you dedicated your time, energy, and resources to becoming the amazing Penny that you are today, that alone has made it really impossible for me to skip you. And that's why you got the request for me to be on the show because I was attracted to the fruit of all that you're doing, your philosophies, your insight, the impact your work is having, how you're offering your solutions. These stuffs are amazing. And just before you got the text from me, I said to myself, I've got to benefit from those beautiful things Penny is doing. Not only me now, but even the audience. And here we are today with the amazing Penny. So thank you so very much for doing that yourself. And secondly, thank you for saying yes to the invite. Because if you had said nope, there was nothing Elisha could do about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elisha. Yeah, I love your reference to the mango tree. It's because the way that I love to work with my clients is working on perceptions, and it's our perceptions of ourselves, our perceptions of difficult times or traumas that we've been through, or even, just negative people in our lives and that sort of thing. It's all down to how we perceive it and how we change that perception can change your whole day. It can change how you react to stress or inflammation, how it affects your health, your happiness. It has such a big difference, an impact in your life, how you perceive the smallest thing.
Exactly. Yeah, I got that. Thank you. So let's get started, Penny. You see, I'm quite excited to have you on the show today for two reasons. Firstly, my interest in knowledge seeking. I believe in order for one to transition from a terrible situation to that of a beautiful one, I believe it takes the application of knowledge, quality information, and not just knowledge now, but the application of it. And you see, Penny, ever since I realized that light in the Hebrew means knowledge and darkness means ignorance, I've been so keen to knowledge seeking because I do not want to remain in the dark. So that's going to make our conversation today very important to me and even to the listeners. And the second reason why I'm excited to have the amazing Penny on the show is for the sake of the audience. You see, we live in an age where information is as abundant as grains of sand. We've got a lot of information flying out there. So these folks trust me for quality, eye-opening, and very important information, of which I am totally convinced, excuse me, sorry, that our conversation is going to be impactful and insightful. So for that reason, Penny, let's get started with your introduction. Talk to us about your personal or your professional journey, because right now we are so curious. We want to know how Penny got here. Then afterwards, I've gotten some beautiful questions for you. Okay, Penny, over to you.
Absolutely. Well, I'm Penney Megginson. I created the Megginson method, which is a combination of mind training techniques to help with mindset and how we use our mind and that mind body connection. Originally, I'm a physiotherapist, a physical therapist in the U.S. And I trained in Pilates and yoga. And with the clients that I was working with, what I found was whether they had a serious injury or not, what seemed to have a bigger impact on the quality of their ability to get better had more to do with their sort of attitude towards whether they could get better, or just a general positive mindset versus some of the clients that I would see that would come in and just feel very doom and gloom, often because it came from, say, a doctor saying, you're never going to run again with this knee injury. It's never going to happen, that sort of thing. And if I could just change that way of thinking, they would improve dramatically. And it was in that moment, I found, just in that first session with every client, I had to change that negative to a positive if we were going to have any results at all. And I found that was more impactful than actually the physical therapy work that I was doing. And since then, it's been years that I've been doing the work that I do, and I see, you have people with so many injuries, and yet they're still skiing and throwing themselves down mountains because they have that mindset that they're just going to keep going no matter what. You see people, in their 80s still hiking. I'm living in Switzerland right now, and there are so many people in their 80s, 90s that are still hiking up mountains and doing exceptional things and with injuries, and they just find a way to make it through and do the little stretches and things they need to do every day to feel okay. And I'll have somebody who maybe is going through a divorce or has lost a loved one or is going through something quite traumatic or loss of a job. And, and maybe they do have a serious injury, but maybe they don't. Maybe it's something minor. And I'll find that until I can change how they're feeling about their current situation, whatever that injury is, it doesn't get better. And so there really is a strong mind-body connection. And I've looked at that just in general with how we look at life and stress in general. And a lot of the health issues that we have are based on inflammation and stress. And if you can change your perception to some of the simplest things during the day, this idea of stress, it goes away because, there are things and people around us all the time that will have a negative or positive effect. And it's really your perception of how you're going to take that information in and how you allow it to affect you. And so that's really how my work came to be. And I started studying neurolinguistic programming, EFT tapping. I was looking at different ways that meditation and hypnotherapy could work. And it's this combination that brought me to working with clients to just achieve the healthiest, happiest life, because life is short and we could, find all the negative things every day, or we can focus on the positives and learn even when we're failing and see that as a positive. And so, it's about creating that positive journey. Yes. To de-stress. We talk about breath work a lot. Breathing is a simple technique. I'll throw out just a quick, easy technique that most people probably already know. Belly breathing, where you breathe into your belly, you expand it like a balloon. You can even, in the beginning, I usually have clients put their hand over their stomach and you try and breathe into the hand and expand it as much as you possibly can. And you breathe in until you can't breathe in anymore. And then you exhale every bit of that air until you can't exhale anymore. And you try that for as many breaths as you can. We aim for 10 breaths. For some of my clients, I find that's just too much in the beginning. But what you're doing from a scientific standpoint is you're tapping into tapping into the parasympathetic nervous system. So by doing this deep belly breathing, you're instantly stopping that fight or flight reflex. And that's what happens when we're feeling stressed. When someone says something that you don't like at work, or you realize there's a deadline and you're feeling stressed, you kick on this fight or flight reflex. And that fight or flight only exists to keep us alive. It's back in the day when you have a tiger chasing after you and it's your way of getting out of a dangerous situation. But because we no longer have that in modern day, our, dangerous situation is that deadline that you're so worried you're not going to make, or not giving a good enough presentation, or what your boss is thinking about you, or a work colleague that's made a nasty comment that's really upset you. These are dangerous situations, and we get this fight or flight, and these little situations happen all day. And some of us live our lives in this fight or flight response. And what happens is you're causing so much stress for your body, and that equals inflammation, and that causes a lot of the health problems that we see now in modern day, because most of us live with stress. And so that simple breathing technique is something you can do anywhere, whether you're sitting in front of a computer, whether you're sitting in the car with road rage, living in LA or Miami or one of these places with lots of traffic. Taking these deep breaths, it's a simple way to just calm down. I even tell parents, when you're just so frustrated with your child, take those deep belly breaths, and it makes such a difference. And it changes the way that you look at the situation. If you can just take that 2 minutes to do a breath technique as simple as that. So that's one simple thing. Now, for somebody who, for example, struggles with anxiety, then that's a different situation, because I have clients that will say, and whatever you do, don't tell me to just breathe, because when you're feeling that anxiety kick in, that's the last thing you want to think about is, just take a few deep breaths. What really works in that situation, if you're someone who does find that you have panic attacks, or that you do struggle with anxiety where you just lose it, once you're there, you can't get out of it. What you want to do is, there's 5 things. First, you name 5 things that you see in the room. So quickly, you just name them. You can name them out loud or just in your head. You name 5 things that you see, then 4 things that you hear, 3 things that you feel, 2 things that you can smell, and 1 thing you taste. And so by doing that, what you're doing is getting back into the cortex of the brain, the thinking part of the brain. And that gets you out of this fight or flight. And because it's logical, it takes thought, it takes effort. It gets you out of that. For someone who just can't just breathe and chill when they're in that moment of anxiety, this is a strategy that really works. What I say to people that do know that they have panic attacks and they do struggle with anxiety, though, I say, do this when you don't need it. Do it every single day. Just take a moment when you're sitting doing your emails and just stop and do this scenario. You name the 5 things that you see. It's 4 things that you feel. Sorry, I think I said that wrong. 4 things you feel, 3 things that you hear, 2 things that you smell, and 1 thing that you taste. So tapping in all of the 5 senses. If you do this and practice it when you don't need it, in that moment that you do need it, you'll already know how to do it because you've practiced it a few times. And it can be really impactful for someone who's really suffering and struggling. And it can be for anything. Like, some people really struggle with anxiety with flying, for example. So this can be really useful when you're sitting on the flight, and just remembering that technique is there to help you. So those are 2 simple, basic things that could help many people who struggle with either stress or anxiety. Yeah. I think there's 2 different things that have happened. I think technology has a big role. I think a lot of us are on screen so much more now than, dealing face to face with people, that those interactions become less natural, where it should be the other way around. And so many of us have become so ingrained to being on our emails, being on our phones. And you see it in children, and that's where it's really interesting or sad to see 3 little kids playing together, and they're all playing on their phones and playing games, but they're all together, and it's, a play date for 10-year-olds, but they're all on their phones. And unless their parents take those phones away, they'll always go towards the phone rather than playing together. If ever given the option to have a phone, they'll want to be on the phone or on the screen. And that sort of thing. And I think growing up this way, or even for adults who didn't grow up with phones and iPads and all of that, just having it now, I think it is like an addiction. It's really hard to replace that with just simple conversation face to face. And it's so easy not to make those interactions happen. So many of us, I think, have started meeting friends less in person and doing more WhatsApp chats and that sort of thing. I remember when I first moved to the UK, coming from the US, being such a chatty, talkative person, I would want to call someone and they'd instantly send me a text because their way was very much texting. And I'd be like, I know you're there. If you're texting me, why won't you pick up? I just want to talk. And so I think we've all become a little bit less social and wanting to be, around lots of people all of the time. And I think that makes this personal interaction more anxiety provoking, or we stress about things that maybe we wouldn't have otherwise, And I think if we take a detox, like a month off of all screens, you notice the difference. If you're filling that time with going for walks with friends and meeting up with friends for lunch and that sort of thing, I think you notice that the anxiety and stress levels are much lower. And so I think that's a huge part of it. And I think what made that speed up was obviously going into COVID lockdown, because many of us that would never have sat in front of a computer for hours had nothing else to do. And we discovered all these things, like all this social media that maybe many of us weren't on Instagram and all of this. And then suddenly you wanted to be, because, there was nothing else to do. And so I certainly saw the difference in my kids who never cared about screens. And that had such a negative impact that I'm still fighting. And so I think that that's a huge part of it. And I think routinely every few months, taking time off of screens, trying to give yourself a social media detox is huge. That can really help. And you find that you fill that time with healthier things that actually have a positive impact on your stress levels and your ability to cope with the normal stresses of life that maybe start causing anxiety for you. Yeah. Yeah. If you're feeling stuck or lacking motivation, one technique that I love giving all of my clients is visualization, because it's such an easy thing to do. I think it's beautiful. You get really good at it. The more you do it, the easier it becomes, and you can do it anywhere, especially when you're going to bed or a few minutes before you get out of bed. So I say, visualize yourself. If everything you ever wanted happens, everything that you hope to achieve were to happen, what would that look like? And you picture that. Who would you be with? Where would you be living? What would you look like? What would your day be like? And just kind of picturing that, because what that does when you're feeling stuck, it's hard to talk about what your goals are and what you want to be doing. But when you picture it and you tap into that creativity that we all have, and most adults kind of forget that we have that natural creativity, when you allow yourself just to dream, no one can see it. You're not telling your friends, this is what I wish I could be doing. It's just for you personally. You start to allow yourself to see, some of these things that maybe you'd like to be doing that you haven't really thought about. And so if you just take a few minutes every day and you visualize this perfect life for yourself, what are you doing? Who are you with? How do you spend your whole day? That can start opening up doors. And you're like, I never thought about the fact that I'm really good at writing. Maybe I should be writing. Maybe I could use that to do social media marketing, or maybe I actually want to write a book. These sorts of things. Many of us just get stuck in a job that we got just because we needed that paycheck. And now that's not inspiring us anymore. And we kind of forgot all the things that were our dreams and goals when we were younger, before we had to pay our rent and that sort of thing. And when you visualize, there's no rules. It's just, what do you really want? What are you passionate about? What would make you feel a sense of purpose? And just, let your mind wander. And if you do it every day, you get better at it and you get more colorful with it and things pop up. I think that's a great way. Some people talk about writing. I find that unless you are someone who enjoys writing, I think visualization is just easy. And you can just do it if you don't feel like getting up for the next 5 minutes. Just lie there and visualize and think about your life right now. If everything that you could have could happen, what would that look like? And I think that they can find me on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube at Megginson Method. It's Megginson.method on Instagram. And I have a website, www.megginsonmethod.com. And again, Megginson's Megginson method.com. Thank you so much for having me.